Good morning, students. Welcome to yet another video of Geography Chapter 4 Agriculture. In the previous class, we learned about non food crops. Today, we will learn technological and institutional reforms, Bhudan Gramdan movement, contribution of agriculture to the national economy, food security, and impact of globalization on agriculture. Now you all can open your geography textbook, chapter 4, agriculture. We will start with the first subtopic, technological and institutional reforms. What do you mean by techno-institutional changes? As we discussed that India is a country with huge population and is important to meet the needs of the increased population. Here we are going to learn about some of the technical changes like some advancement in technology as well as some of the changes which was brought into the scene by some institutions. For example, Green Revolution. Green Revolution is all about using high yield variety seeds, use of fertilizers, irrigation, insecticides, pesticides, and so on. So, with all of that, the aim is to increase the productivity. However, the Green Revolution was not a great success, and that was mainly because of the use of pesticides, fertilizers, insecticides. All these chemicals helped in improving the crop productivity, but at the same time, they harmed the environment and resulted in the decrease in the fertility of the land. So, that way, Green Revolution was not a great success. But yes, this was one of the changes that brought into the picture for agricultural development. Another such step was taken, which was called as White Revolution. Like Green Revolution, White Revolution is also familiar to us, which was brought into picture around 1970s, which is popularly known as Operation Flood. White Revolution was a dairy development program. The idea was to make dairy products accessible throughout India. We all are familiar with Amul products like Amul butter, Amul cheese, Amul ice creams, and so on. Amul is a very popular brand in dairy, and the man behind Amul was Dr. Verghese Kurian, and he played a crucial role in White Revolution. Here you can see the image of Dr. Verghese Kurian, who played a crucial role in White Revolution. As a result of White Revolution, milk was able to reach out to every section of population in India. So that's how milk was accessible to everyone. It's not just milk, there are a lot of dairy products. It could be ghee, butter, paneer, cheese, and so on. So that was all about White Revolution. Next is there was provisions made for crop insurance against natural calamities. For example, sometimes there is a flood or a fire or some sort of disease in plants or else any sorts of natural calamity. So, what will happen? There will be a huge loss for the farmers. A large amount of crops get wasted. A provision was made that so that insurance can be provided for crops so that not too much of loss for the farmers. So for that purpose, crop insurance was introduced by the government. Next is provision of loan facilities to the farmers. As I said, India is being an agricultural country. The moment we think about agricultural development, we think about farmers' development because they are the one who are directly involved in agriculture. Now, if a farmer is poor, he will not be able to use better techniques to increase productivity. So, someone has to give him money. Now, who will give him money? So, for that purpose, a lot of Grameen banks and cooperative banks were formed, which will give interest free loans to the farmers, or sometimes they even give low interest rate. It means they will give loan to farmers at a very less interest rate, so that they can buy inputs for their cultivation. Not only that, there were a lot of government schemes which were introduced for the farmers' benefits. One such scheme was KCC, Kisan Credit Card. Here you can see the image of Kisan Credit Card. The aim of Kisan Credit Card is to give quick and timely access to affordable credit. For example, let's talk about ourselves. How credit card is helping us. When we carry a credit card in our wallet, we don't have to worry, and we when we enter into a shopping mall, let's say that we like a dress, but I don't have a single penny in my pocket, but I have a credit card in my wallet. And if I think that I really need to buy this dress, I have the credit card. I can swipe the credit card and I can buy the dress. So, credit card gives us an easy access to money even though we don't have cash in our wallet. We can have some credit immediately using the credit card. So, the same is true with farmers. If they don't have money right now, or they don't have time to apply for a loan and do all the documentations, if they have a credit card, they can quickly swipe the card and get some money. And once they cultivate the crops and then they sell the surplus in the market, and with that profit later they can pay off the money which they took from the credit card. So that's all about the use of the credit card to a farmer. There was another such government scheme known as PAIS. It means Personal Accident Insurance Scheme. So this scheme covered all the KCC card holders. That means all the farmers who had a Kisan credit card. So for all of them, a coverage was provided against their death and disability due to accidents. So for all such cases, insurance is provided to the surviving members. These were some of the government schemes. Now, not only that, there were weather bulletins which kept the farmers updated about the weather, because weather plays a crucial role in agriculture. Weather forecasters were updated in radios as well as in televisions. And lastly, about collectivization, consolidation of holdings, cooperation, and abolition of zemindars were on the priority as institutional reforms after independence. So a lot of steps has been taken in the field of agriculture. Now let's move on to the next topic, that is Bhudan Gramdan movement. In this slide, you can see the image of the man who initiated the Bhudan Gramdan movement. He is Vinoba Bhave. Bhu means what? It is land or zameen. So dan means gift. So Bhudan means donating land. Gram means village. So Gram Dan means donating village. So this movement was initiated after independence by Vinoba Bhave. Vinoba Bhave, he was a follower of Mahatma Gandhi, After independence, he used to roam around villages. It means he used to travel from one village to the other and give speeches to people and tell them about non-violence and principles of Mahatma Gandhi, basically. So now let's analyze a slight in detail about Bhudan Gramdan movement. So once some poor landless villagers demanded some land for their economic well-being. As I said, Vinoba Bhave, he used to roam around or else he used to travel from one village to the another village. So during such a travel, once some poor landless villagers, they demanded some land to Vinoba Bhave for their economic well-being. So Vinoba Bhave, he could not assure, but he promised to talk to the government regarding that. So suddenly, Sri Ram Chandra Reddy, he offered 80 acres of land to be distributed among 80 landless villages. So this act was known as Bhudan. So it means Sri Ramachandra Reddy, he offered 80 acres of land to the 80 landless villages. So he offered his land to the landless villages. So this act was known as Bhudan. Similarly, some zemindars, owners of many villages, offered to distribute some villages among the landless. So it was known as Gramdan. It means donating the village. That act is known as Gramdan. This is for the benefit of the poor people, and it is also known as bloodless revolution. The next topic is contribution of agriculture to the national economy, employment and output. Agriculture plays an important role in Indian economy. We have more than 50% of the people who are engaged in the agricultural sector. However, the share of GDP is declining. GDP means the gross national product. It is the value of all goods and services produced in a country during a specified period of time, normally 1 year. So the value of all goods and services produced in a country during a particular year is known as GDP. So it is explaining that more than 50% of the people are engaged in the agricultural sector, but they generate less than 25% of the GDP. That means there is a huge unemployment, underemployment or disguised unemployment that is present in the agricultural sector. Now let's analyze what are the measures that the government has taken to boost the growth in the agricultural sector. To reform agricultural sector, we need to establish more agricultural universities, pursue research and development, veterinary services and animal breeding centers, horticulture development, research and development in the field of meteorology, etc., were given priority for improving agriculture. Meteorology. Meteorology means atmospheric science focused on weather forecasting. So meteorology means it is atmospheric science focus on weather forecasting. So that's all about the measures which the government has taken to boost the growth in the agricultural sector. Now let's analyze the major challenges faced by farmers. The major challenges faced by the farmers are the farmers, they are withdrawing their investment in agriculture. Instead of investing in the agricultural sector, nowadays they are investing more in the allied activities. And the next major challenge faced by the farmers is higher cost of production, that is due to the lower subsidy. The another major challenge which faced by our farmers is the increase in the cost of production due to the low subsidy low subsidy from the which is provided by the government. So there is decrease in the subsidies and higher competition from the foreign market and decrease in import duty. So we have cheaper agricultural products coming to our market. So that is decreasing our agricultural production in India. So the next challenge which is faced by our farmer is inadequate facilities and rural infrastructure. In India, some of our villages we don't have good infrastructure facility, especially in the rural areas. So this inadequate facilities or else the inappropriate rural infrastructure that that will affect the farmers in transporting the agricultural produce, the final yield, the food grains from the village to the town to the or else to the market area. So if you want to go ahead with a smooth transportation of goods from one place to another or else from the village to the town, we need a better transportation facility as well as a good communication facility. So lack of rural or else good infrastructure in the rural areas and the inadequate facilities is another major challenge faced by our farmers. And another challenge faced by our farmer is erratic nature of monsoons. We all know that our farmers are mainly dependent on the monsoons. So the erratic nature of monsoons affects agricultural production on a large scale. The next topic is food security. Food security means the availability and accessibility of food grains to all the people at an affordable rate. Food security consists of two components, that is buffer stock and public distribution system. Through the public distribution system or ration shops, the government tries to ensure and supply food grains to all the people coming under the categories of below poverty line at very less cost when compared to the market price. PDS is a regular system which happens every month in the entire country. Through this shops, the government provide food grains, kerosene, sugar, cooking oil, and so on at a subsidized rate. Every member in a BPL family is eligible to avail the benefits of the fair price shop. For example, if the government is providing 4 kg of rice or wheat per head, if the family is having 5 members, then in total the family will get 20 kilogram of grains for a month. They get grains at 1 or 2 rupees per kg based on the ration card. The next under food security is explaining about buffer stock. Buffer stock is the stock of food grains especially procured by the government of India through Food Corporation of India. It created in order to distribute food grains in deficit areas and among poorer sections of society at an affordable price. These procured grains is distributed through PDS and supplied to the below poverty line people. The FCI procures food grains from the farmers at the government announced minimum support price. MSP or minimum support price is the pre-announced price at which the government purchases food grains, particularly wheat and rice, from the farmers in order to create a buffer stock. Normally, the MSP is announced before the commencement of sowing season. So MSP is the price at which the government purchases crops from the farmers. The MSP is the price at which the government purchases crops from farmers irrespective of the price for the crops. It is a form of market intervention by the government of India to ensure agricultural producers against sharp fall in farm prices. The MSP is a guaranteed price for their produce from the government. For example, even if there is a drought in a year, government should provide the minimum support price to the farmers so that the farmers can maintain a decent standard of living. However, there are certain drawbacks in the food security programs. The first and the foremost is the low quality. It means the food grains that is coming to the through the PDS is of low quality. And the second drawback is lack of proper storage facility. It means there is no proper storage facility to store the procured grains as buffer stock. The third drawback is the grains which is procured by the government through Food Corporation of India, that is going to the open market, and the intermediaries who is benefiting from this than the poor people. So these are the some of the drawbacks which food security program witness. However, again there has been a gradual shift from cultivation of food crops to horticulture. This results in the decrease in the cultivation of cereals and pulses. With the increase in population, the decrease in food production is a big problem of country's future food security. And apart from that, people are utilizing the land for other commercial purposes than utilizing the land for the agricultural purposes, that resulted in the reduction in the net sown area. After the Green Revolution, the use of fertilizers, pesticides, and insecticides that shown a good result in the aggregate agricultural production. But later, that resulted in the decrease in the fertility of the soil. So now people again started switching on to organic farming. Now let's move on to the next heading, that is impact of globalization on agriculture. Globalization is the process of interaction and integration between people, companies, and governments worldwide. It has grown due to the advance in transport and communication technology. Now let's talk something from the historical backgrounds. The concept of globalization in India started during the colonial rule. Indian spices exported to different countries in the world. Apart from that, during the British rule, cotton belts attracted the Britishers to India, and that resulted in the export of cotton from India to cotton textile industries in Manchester and Liverpool. We already learned about Champaran movement, which started in Bihar in the year 1917. This is because people in Champaran were forced by the British people to grow indigo on their land instead of food grains, because it is necessary for the textile industries located in Britain. So, at that time, The people in Champaran, they were forced to cultivate indigo, so they were unable to grow food grains to sustain their families. Of recently, there is a change in the pattern. Now we move towards gene revolution or genetic engineering, where we are bringing more hybrid seeds which can produce in shorter duration and output will be much higher. Genetic engineering. Genetic engineering means genetically modified or biotech crops and plants used in agriculture. Genetically modified or biotech crops and plants used in agriculture. It means the DNA which has been modified using genetic engineering methods. In most cases, the aim of genetic engineering is to introduce a new trait to the plant which does not occur naturally in the species. So there are diversification of crops from cereal crops to high value crops. It means now currently we diverted our agricultural practice from cereal crops to high value crops. We are moving to crops like fruits, medicinal herbs, flowers, and vegetables. And what happens is we are exporting these high value crops and we are importing cereals at lesser price. It means currently in India, we are not cultivating cereal crops for our own sustainability. In turn, in India, we are concentrated on the high value crops and we are cultivating high value crops and we are exporting those high value crops to other countries and earning a good amount of money as profit, and we are importing cereals from other countries at a lesser price. We need to spend only less money to import cereals and we are gaining more money through exporting high value crops. So that increases the income of our economy. This model is already practiced in countries like Italy and Israel. Italy is predominantly Mediterranean country, so they have the wine and citrus cultivation seen there. And there is a move, again there is a move to the biodiesel crops like jatropha and jojoba, which need only much less irrigation and can grown in dry condition than rice or sugarcane. So you can see the image of jatropha and jojoba in this slides. So these two are the biodiesel plants and it does not require lot of irrigation. It can grow even in dry climate. It require these jatropha and jojoba. It requires only less irrigation. These are the biodiesel plants. Biodiesel, it means what? It made from the natural elements such as plants, vegetables, etc. And this biodiesel fuel is better for the atmosphere because unlike other fuels, it does not give off harmful chemicals. So jatropha and jojoba, these are the plants used for biodiesels, used to make biodiesel. So these are the few changes that occur with time and that has been an impact on globalization, and we are now we are moving on to high value crops for agricultural activities than concentrating more on the cereal crops. So by this we concluded this geography chapter for agriculture. Now let's have a quick recap of today's class. Today we started learning from technological and institutional reforms. So, agriculture provides a livelihood for more than 60% of its population. So, this sector needs some serious technical and institutional reforms. The Green Revolution and the White Revolution were some of the reforms initiated by people to improve agriculture, and some initiatives taken by the government are schemes introduced by government such as Kisan Credit Card, Personal Accident Insurance Scheme, and then we learned about special weather bulletins and agricultural programs for farmers on the radio and television were introduced. The government also announces minimum support price, remunerative and procurement prices for important crops to check the exploitation of farmers by speculators and middlemen. Then we learned about the contribution of agriculture to the national economy, employment, and output. In 2010-11 analysis, about more than half of the total workforce in India is dependent on the agricultural sector. Still, the share from the agricultural sector towards the GDP is declining. Indian Council of Agriculture, Agricultural Research (ICAR), then agricultural universities, veterinary services, and animal breeding centers, horticulture development, research and development in the field of weather forecasting. All these are the few of the initiatives introduced by the government to improve Indian agriculture. So by this we concluded the chapter Geography chapter 4 Agriculture. If you have any doubts related to this chapter, you can mail at dmcsonlinequeries@gmail.com. Thank you, students. Have a good day ahead.